cayeron edificios.
This is my building. I was inside the building when it collapsed. I got to the bottom and everything came around. And the whole thing is gone.
No sé ni siquiera si está bien, si se... ¿Había una de todas nosotras?
¿Dónde?
The toll continues to rise in central Mexico more than 24 hours after it was hit by a magnitude 7.1 earthquake. At least 230 people were killed, but there are also incredible stories of survival. Manuel Bojorquez is in Mexico.
After the anguish of waiting and uncertainty, a boy and girl were pulled alive from a crack in the wall of this collapsed school. But rescuers fear more may still be trapped more than 24 hours after the earthquake struck, killing 25 at the school, the majority children.
The area surrounding the school has become a hub of activity where people are donating food and water for rescue crews and anxious parents. But every now and then people throw up a fist. This means silence because rescue crews are trying to listen for any sound coming from the rubble.
Volunteer Alex Osorio, a banker, helped free 4 people from this demolished office building.
They were making noise with metal, so with coins, so that the volunteers, the rescue, could hear that noise.
They were using coins to hit metal.
That's right.
And the rescuers were able to hear that.
That in the other side of the wall.
First responders' work has been at times frantic, at times painstaking, removing bricks and rubble by hand to avoid collapsing additional debris from the nearly 40 buildings that collapsed. They have formed bucket brigades and worked shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of volunteers. Outside this collapsed building, we found Marta Laura praying with her rosary. Her husband started work here as an engineer just this week.
¿Has sabido una cosa? Have you heard anything?
Nada. No. Es lo último que hay que perder.
It's the last thing you give up, is that faith that you'll be alive.
Fuerte en la fe por mis hijos,
for your children. Despite this type of destruction, so far, more than 50 people have been pulled alive from the rubble. But conditions are hazardous. There are gas leaks, which also permeate the air. Anthony?
Manuel Bojorquez in Mexico City. Thanks, Manny.
We're going to turn to that devastating earthquake in Mexico. The search is on for survivors after that deadly quake struck about 75 miles southeast of Mexico City. The 7.1 magnitude quake killing more than 200 people. Many are still missing this morning. Our senior national correspondent Matt Gutman is there for us and has the latest. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Robin. And that death toll continues to rise with each passing hour. We now know that there are at least 20 school children among the dead. Officials say they were trapped when their building pancaked on top of them, and now in Mexico City, the frantic effort to try to rescue those that are still living.
This is what it looked like when the 7.1 quake struck near Mexico City.
We just lost the building in Mexico City.
Powerful enough to pancake office buildings and schools. At least 21 children and 4 teachers killed after an entire wing of an elementary school collapsed. Rescue workers scrambling to find the missing. Overnight, they clawed at the wreckage, some with bare hands. The injured hauled away on stretchers, even in the arms of first responders. And that shaking lasted for agonizing minutes.
It got even more intense and really started shaking.
Inside this newsroom, the walls shaking. Throughout the city, alarms blaring, cars frozen the moment the quake struck. At a standstill, drivers scrambling out.
Things in your house are falling over and are shattering.
And throughout central Mexico, those choking clouds of dust, people panicking and praying.
I still don't feel safe. I feel like I'm living in an aftershock constantly.
As windows slip down buildings like sheets of ice, debris crushed vehicles.
Oh my gosh!
The water at this park splashing as if in a giant bathtub. The quake struck just hours after countrywide earthquake safety drills on Tuesday, drills that were put into place after Mexico's deadliest earthquake back in 1985. Shockingly, that quake, which killed thousands, rocked Mexico on the exact same date, September 19th.
And hampering the rescue efforts even more is the fact that there is no electricity in much of Mexico City. Nearly 4 million people cut off from power, and the roads are in such bad shape that rescuers are struggling even to reach those who need help. One more thing, we flew in here to Guadalajara, a 6-hour drive away because the Mexico City airport was so badly damaged. Robin.
All right, Matt, this is the destruction that you see there.
A lot of destruction there, and President Trump has sent his condolences to Mexico, saying, "We are with you and we will be there for you." Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.
The videos coming in, I mean, if you look at social media, look online, you can see are monitoring the different news agencies from Mexico. They'll show these dramatic pictures and dramatic video coming out from parts of Mexico City. Reminder, Mexico City, while it says only 8 million, is much, much larger than that. There's a lot of smaller towns and municipalities that are attached to it. The earthquake struck around 1 o'clock yesterday afternoon in the state of Puebla, near the town of Rebozo. It's about 75 miles south of Mexico City. The 7.1 earthquake in fact, follows another earthquake that was over 8 just 2 weeks ago. Really shook everything. Basically, Mexico City is built largely on filled land. It was once a lake years ago, and over the centuries has been filled in. So, of course, very susceptible to these types of movements. We know that at least 25 bodies were pulled from a school in the southern neighborhood of Villacopa. It's a more colonial area. All but 4 of those bodies, so 21 were children, 4 were adults. There are still searchers there on site, as you can see. They're digging through with their hands. At times, they're yelling out to be quiet so they can hear faint voices. Parents are standing outside the gates, hoping for any sign of survival. There have been some reports that there was a WhatsApp text that was received by one of the parents. Of course, at this time, when you have these type of things, there's all sorts of information coming out, Shannon, that makes it, very fluid. In fact, the numbers are very fluid. The numbers of survivors right now, we're told about 60 were pulled. The numbers of deaths being at 217, all expected to change, Shannon.
And you mentioned social media is covered with these pictures, with these videos. Why are we seeing so many buildings? It appears in these videos that allege they're from this quake. They just look like they're falling apart and collapsing.
Well, yeah, what's interesting is you're seeing a bunch of different things here. First of all, you're seeing videos of people on the 30th and 40th floor of their building, and their buildings are just fine, but they, swayed a ton. Or you see people in taxis getting out, and water in one of the very popular canals that was shaking, and tourists trying to hold on to their drinks and stay upright, basically. You're also seeing more video coming from areas further south, some of the smaller villages. Mexico City is very interesting in the sense that you've got colonial buildings there that were built 2 centuries ago. You've got modern buildings with very, very strict building codes to deal with earthquakes. And then you have like shanty areas that are not necessarily really supposed to be there at all. So you've got 3 distinctly different types of buildings in Mexico City. That's why you're seeing areas like this with a collapsed, crumbled building, and right next door a more modern building with virtually no damage at all. So you're seeing these hand crews. We saw the same type of thing in Haiti when we covered earthquakes. We saw the same type of thing in other parts of the world where you see the buckets being passed and people doing whatever they can, digging with their hands. And we're going to see some amazing signs of survival. That always happens in this situation. But gosh, I mean, it's right now a very dire situation, unfortunately, and for many families, as at least 217 have been confirmed dead.